I call the health meeting to order at 10 minutes after 1. And first, we'll have the invocation by Councilor John Burke.
Let us pray. Dear most gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, and just thank you for the opportunity to take care of our people. Guide and lead us, and just thank you for bestowing all the blessings upon our nation, and just bless this meeting. We can take care of our people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Ms. Shirley, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Dick Lay.
Here.
Bill England.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Joe Bird. Julia Coates. Here. Jody Fishinghawk. Here. Meredith Fraley. Here. Don Garvin. Tina Gloria Jordan.
Present.
Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Chuck Hoskin Jr. Lee Keener.
Honey.
Curtis Snell. David Thornton.
Here.
David Walkingstick.
Here.
Kara Callan Watts.
Honey.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the minutes. For the
Make a motion to be approved.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Before we go into further business, I'd like to introduce someone to you. We have a new counselor to represent the tribal council. It's our attorney that will help us with different things and write legislations and give us opinions and guide us. And Diane Barker Harrell, would you like to say a few words?
I just want to say that it is an honor to be here to serve you, and I sent each of you a letter to introduce myself. I look forward to working with you. I am a member of the Cherokee Nation, and I look forward to working with each of you for the betterment of this tribe, for our future. And I have 11 grandchildren that are part of our future and 1 great-granddaughter, so I think I have a very vested interest in making sure that we do, all of us do a great job, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. First, we have reports. The Claremore Service Unit, Mr. George Valyers.
Good afternoon. I think you have my report in your packet. Are there any questions about it?
Mr. Lake.
George, do we, the Cherokee Nation, fund Claremore Hospital in any way or fashion?
Yes, sir. You have shares there, both inpatient and outpatient.
And do you have any idea what financially that could be per year?
No, I don't. We'd have to go through Oklahoma City they break out the share part of that. I will add, though, if you're interested, Max Tsuda is the gentleman you can get a hold of down at area office.
At Oak City?
Yes.
How do I spell that, Oak City?
TAHSUDAH. Max.
Thank you.
Huh?
Anyone have any comments or questions for Mr. Valyers?
Thank you,
Councilor
Madam-
Keener.
Thank you, Madam Chair. George, I was just going to ask if you would recap the MRI project for the council, please.
Okay. In fact, I got an email this morning from Childers and Associates that said the final designs are 65% completed. And what I'm told is that with a 65% completed design, we can put that out on Fed Biz Ops to go out for bid to construction companies. Then once we get those bids back, they'll be reviewed by acquisitions and hopefully a contract awarded to a construction company. And the target is to get the MRI put in, installed, and up and running by the end of the calendar year.
Thank you, George.
Councilor Barton's got a question.
At one time with law enforcement there at Claremore, we had a Cherokee Nation marshal that was stationed there with certain, had special criteria to be there. His name was Leonard McMillan. Do we still have that agreement in place?
No.
Is that
Nope.
something that we need to do, or how are we addressing that?
That was something that, it's my understanding that was an agreement between the FBI and the marshals.
Okay.
all we have there now are the two security guards. We have one unarmed security guard on duty 24 hours a day.
And that's good.
No, but that's all we can do. My goal would be to have have the jurisdiction changed so that we could hire, coming from a law enforcement background, I'd rather hire off-duty police officers to do our security for us.
I knew that was your background. Is that something would you submit some type of narrative to us so we could look at it?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that.
I will.
Thank you.
I believe Councilor Thornton is next.
Yes, I got Councilman Murray brought up a subject here that's been in my crawl for a long time. And our Cherokee Nation clinics, we don't have any security down there for any of them that I know of. No Red Bar don't have any. And we have all kinds of people come in there. We have all kinds of medications there. We have people that come in there that argue, fuss, want to fight. They have to get rid of them. They have to call local police or whoever they can call. And at one time, we did have security in there. And when they'd have a problem, that security man standing right there, the person's not as apt to get irate as he does in other times. You know, and so I think we need to really get up this marshal service business and get one in each clinic, marshal, and have them stationed there. And I think we're missing out here. And I think that our people are missing out, and we need to protect our people that's there, and protect our doctors and all the way down to anyone else that works there. So I think we need to look at that. We need to talk to the marshal service and see if we can't get them in these places. Because I know they have good security up there at Hastings. I mean, they check you all the time, walk through there. But we don't in our clinics, and we need to look at that real strong. Next time we'll get the marshal service up in front of us, maybe we can say something. Thank you very much.
Councilor Fisher-Hawk.
Yeah, Councilor Hoskins last time asked about the, if a notice of denial could automatically be given at Cherokee Nation contract held, so the appeals process could begin instead of waiting for the patient. Do you have anything to add to that? He's not here today.
No, I agreed. We could work something out if he wants to sit down and work out a process for that. I'm agreeable to that.
Okay, just to get, for him to get with you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilor Lake.
Thank you.
I wonder if you could have this gentleman contact me or email me the dollar amounts that we're talking and how that, give me some background on that and how that came about, George.
Okay.
And the other thing, you know, the security, when you had Cherokee marshals down there, did you reimburse us for that cost? Or?
I don't know, sir. That was way before my time.
One thing I've been talking with Shannon about trying to put marshals in each county or each county seat, similar to what they do for the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. He says we need 84 marshals to do that instead of 28. I didn't know where that budget was coming from, but you know, kind of along the lines of what you were just talking about.
In years past, those weren't marshals we had in those clinics, those were just security people.
Security for Cherokee Nation.
Thank you.
Councilor Walkenstick is next.
I spoke to a security officer at Hastings a few months ago, and he was explaining to me that he was under IHS. He was being paid. He was a government employee, and he said when Cherokee Nation took him over, he said that he lost those government benefits, and now he's under the Cherokee Nation. So my question is, as far as talking about security, is there funding in the IHS to fund security for our hospitals? Is that, I mean, can we do that?
That's going to come out of the general, it's just in my general budget. It's what do I want it for? And what you're talking about comes to the HR department. When you transfer over, when you compact and take over a facility like that, you can transfer those federal positions and you sign with the federal government under that compact what's called an intergovernmental personnel agreement, which means that those people stay federal employees, but they're under an IPA to work for you.
Yeah. Well,
Or they relinquish that and quit the federal side and come over in their tribal hires and work directly for you.
is there any regulations on IHS funds that say that we can set money aside for law enforcement in our hospitals?
No, not that I'm aware of.
So we are able to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we need to figure out some way to get maybe some armed security or something in these hospitals. Because there are some patients that are medicated when they come in and may act crazy or whatever, you know, so we need to protect those.
Mhm. I agree.
What plan do we need to go about doing
They
this?
don't count.
Well,
What would you recommend?
the first thing, to do it correctly, what I would do is, and this is a long-standing problem there at Claremore, like Councilor Byrd pointed out, is the jurisdiction of the land that hospital sits on. It's an exclusive federal jurisdiction, which means that the only people that can answer law enforcement calls there are the FBI or the U.S. Marshals.
U.S. Marshals.
You know, I can't, if I have something going on there, a fight, a shooter, you know, some crazy person, I can't call the police or sheriff's office there in town or Cherokee Nation because they don't have jurisdiction there. And the city, when I worked there, we could go to the curb, you know, we had no jurisdiction on there and we weren't covered under, you know, liability-wise if we went on there and took any action. That's what keeps other law enforcement agencies from coming on. And this has been going on. See, there was a homicide there in '79, and it was that way then, and that wasn't enough to change it.
Well, all right. So, would you recommend we subcontract with an FBI or U.S. Marshal, or?
I don't know
Well,
that.
let me ask you this: our marshal service we have currently, are they cross-deputized to go on federal property?
I don't know what the Cherokee Nation. I don't know how they're deputized,
I think
sir.
they are, aren't they?
I don't know what districts are currently cross-deputized, David.
Okay. I guess it's something we need to get with Shannon about, and maybe try to work out some partnership with your facilities and as well as Connie's. We'll work on that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Church.
Okay, Counselor Tyler Glory Jordan.
George, the question that Counselor Fishenhawk asked you on behalf of Counselor Hoskins,
Yes.
he had inquired last month if the notice of denial there at Claremore could automatically be given to Cherokee Nation Contract Health so that appeal process on the additional dividend that were given out for Contract Health could be immediately started. And I think your answer was he can get with you and y'all will try to work something out.
That's the way I took it. Yes, ma'am.
Well, the thing is, that's not quite the way I take it.
Okay.
I think that we're asking you to do that.
Okay.
And we want you to figure out how to get it done so that it starts. We've got the 5%. We kind of know how the money's gonna be divvied up. You can identify the Cherokees on your end that's being denied contract health, and they can be asked to sign an additional form when they ask for contract health, that should they be turned down, that their information can be given to our contract health department there at Hastings. And let's move this process up. We know every one of them's gonna want to get into that pot and be reviewed to whether they will qualify for some of that 5% additional dividend. So instead of making them jump through an additional hoop, let's just get their information down to Contract Health at Tahlequah if they are denied every step, every one of your steps. And if they go through the appeal process and they're denied again, let's just get that information down there and cut off that extra step of them saying, well, what do I do now? Oh, well, you need to go back in, you need to start this process again. Most people are going to get tired of that.
Okay.
And I think that we could help them by just simply getting that information to them and have our contract health people contact them if they're gonna be successful in moving over to that additional 5% dividend.
You want me to send that denial letter to?
Now,
Brett,
just
or
just for the Cherokee.
Yes, yeah.
That's, my understanding is the 5% is just for the Cherokees.
Cherokee
But-
Nation, not United Foodman, right?
It's, the 5% is just for Cherokee Nation, membership.
But send it to Brett?
I would think it would go to Brett, or maybe Miss Davis will work out something, a procedure of how they're going to receive those. But I hate to see our people have to come back in, try to figure out, well, what's the next process? We are to be forward thinking and saying, okay, we can save them some time. We know they're all going to want to do this. Let's get this process started for them.
I'll get with Brett and
Okay.
we'll get something worked out.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Counselor Karen Watts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this has been an ongoing issue on the jurisdictional issue for over 20 years, I believe, was it the research
30.
we found? 30 now. Oh, yeah, I started on this 9 years ago. So this body has on record a resolution in support of the congressional change that is required because it's a congressional anomaly. At the time that they authorized, I hope I get this language correct, they authorized the facility, both the Claremore Indian Hospital, when it was built for IHS, as well as the Lawton Hospital. Both have exclusive federal jurisdiction. So it's not concurrent, it doesn't allow for Indian country, it doesn't allow for anything but like the FBI or the US Marshals to allow for law enforcement to come on. And I think that the Councilman Byrd's reference to the 80s or 90s was at a point when DOJ, Department of Justice, had allowed for the US Marshals to compact with the Cherokee Nation Marshal Service.
I don't know if it was the marshals, I think it was the FBI that had cross-deputized the
Okay.
Cherokee Nation marshals.
So there was a brief period where there was a proper agreement in place, but that was brief. It was in the middle of the 30 years. It wasn't even the first part, the first half, or this latter half, and they refused. So no law enforcement agency, even if they want to, which we have the City of Claremore Police Chief, the Rogers County Sheriff, we had both the past marshal and the current marshal of the Cherokee Nation on board. Our federal employee, CEO of the Claremore Indian Hospital, which can't necessarily advocate on behalf of the IHS system. Everybody's on board. The advisory board for the Claremore Indian Hospital, all the tribes have come forward with resolutions, or almost all. And then there's a resolution from the advisory board saying that they are asking for the federal congressional fix. So it would take Congress to act to truly fix it long-term. And the update from our Cherokee Nation Marshal, the latest I had, was that they were working with compacting with the U.S. Marshals to possibly allow, but I have not had an update in writing. That was a verbal.
This last year, we had, I've had face-to-face meetings with Coburn, with Inhofe, all on this single subject, letting them know that everybody's on board and wants this change, but even though everybody's on board for this change, we can't get it pushed over the speed bump there. You know, we've contacted, we've gone as high as we can go here, talking to Coburn and Inhofe and Bourne. So you know, if there's an avenue, Councilor Byrd, that you can kind of point me in the right direction, I'll be glad to assist or give you information. If you want to come by and visit with me about it, I'll be glad to sit down and show you everything we've done.
So we've come very close in Washington DC to having a fix actually passed, but it fell short because of the division on the Hill in the last 2 or 3 years. It just didn't happen due to a last minute vote or because something else was stymied because of other politics that had nothing to do with this issue. But again, I'll ask this body, we would appreciate in District 5 any support, because essentially you've got a facility in the middle of the city of Claremore next to one of the busiest expos for tourism and those kind of things that are going on. And at any time, we already know that there's folks that have went onto that property and they have to sit and wait them out while they watch them. That is alarming. So it's been on our radar. We've been working on it. Chuck Hoskin Jr.'s helped at different times, but it really would take everybody to help do that. So, and I would appreciate this contract health issue being addressed, because so far to date, none of the constituents that I've sent to the chief's office have even been responded to. They said they don't even get a response, let alone actually the money getting to them on contract health. So I hope we get able to resolve this soon. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Councilor Byrd?
I think, I'll just, my brief comment that I have, I will get with you.
Okay.
There were only two marshals that were certified to go on that facility, IHS. And they had special approval or criteria with the FBI. And that was Leonard McMillan, who is not with us anymore, and Mickey Spears. And it was working back in the 90s, and we had that agreement. I would have to go back and maybe you could help me research what that was, that agreement, and what that actual criteria was from the FBI.
I remember Leonard used to come up and
Yes.
we used to visit with him up there. Yeah.
No. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Lay?
Thank you, ma'am. Two things. One, I wondered, do any other tribes help fund Claremore Indian Hospital other than the Cherokee? They do.
All the other 16 tribes that are on that board all have shares in the funding of the hospital.
Is it equal, do you think, or?
No, it's proportionate.
Yeah, okay. The other thing about this sending marshals to the Claremore Indian Hospital, we don't own that hospital. Will we be reimbursed for that cost is the first thing I'm gonna ask. Because right now, we've got marshals, they tell me at C&E that we're not fully reimbursed for. So I would be very hesitant about sending marshals to a federal facility when George ought to take care of it himself. Not George, excuse me, Claremore Indian Hospital. That should be on your funding and not ours. We're already doing a lot of things for you, it sounds like. And I'm not sure I want to keep carrying water to Claremore Indian Hospital when it's a federally funded hospital. I've been talking with our marshal about a marshal in each county, and he can't do it, he says, without adding additional officers. And so that's going to bust his budget, and he's going to come to us for that money, and where are we going to get it? And now we want to send marshals to Claremore Indian Hospital, when in fact they should fund their own security. That's my opinion. This is the people's money. We're not just throwing it away and giving it back to the federal government. And so my hand was not go up on that unless I see a lot of reimbursement coming from the federal side of that issue. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Councilor Fishing Hawk, you're next.
Oh, I was just gonna ask Councilor Byrd about how he done it back in the 90s. But I would like to bring something up. Dick, I appreciate you bringing that to our attention about the MRI.
We have any other questions or comments for Mr. Valiant? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have someone that is new to most of us, Ms. Connie Davis, and she was Cherokee Nation Health Services, and I'll let her introduce herself, and I don't know her official title, but I'm sure she can tell us.
Hello, I'm the new Executive Director of Health. To serve you and do what I can to help with health.
Councilor Walkenstick.
Hey, it was nice meeting you. Can you guys explain to us about your background in health?
I sure can. I've been a registered nurse for right at 24 years now. I started out as a new graduate at Hastings Hospital right after the new hospital, it was new to me, 20 years ago, opened up. Spent about 5 years there working med-surg in the emergency department. And then I went and did home health for about 6 years. Came back to Hastings, worked in the emergency room, went on and became the nurse educator, performance improvement director, and emergency room director. And at that point, I had the opportunity to take a job at Tahlequah City Hospital as the chief nurse there, and I've spent the last 7.5 years at Tahlequah City. So I've come back home in my mind, accepting this position.
You said what was that, the improvement, what? The director of what?
Performance improvement officer.
Performance improvement officer.
Mhm.
So you've seen a lot of needs within the hospital there, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing that they deliver the quality of care to the masses that they see with the infrastructure and the staff that they have.
What are some of the biggest needs you see at Hastings Hospital?
Space, access for the patient, streamlining processes so that we need to remember we're a service to the public and to our citizens, and make it convenient for them rather than what's convenient for people working there.
Yeah. You always hear a statement all the time, well, it's free, so that's why it's like that, the way it is. I always hear comments like that all the time, and there's been a lot of dissatisfaction in our healthcare facility at Hastings. And I'm glad that you said that you're on that performance director, so you actually see the needs and you know what needs to be done to make it more convenient for our constituents.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And I don't like that mentality, it's free. You know, our predecessors, the government made an agreement with our people to provide this as a service, and we are obligated to honor our word. And so I think we need to change the way that we deliver that message, because our employees are being paid to deliver that. And just because the patients are not incurring a direct cost does not mean that they deserve lesser quality or to be treated any differently.
Glad to hear that. I'm glad you're leading all that up. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Carolyn Watts, next.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome.
Thank you.
I apologize, I would have sent a note, but until I saw the book and saw your name listed, there wasn't any introduction to the council to my knowledge, so I was glad that there's a face and knowledge of your new position now, and we know a little bit about you. So will you be making a formal announcement to the employees or such, or?
I believe one went out, but I will follow up and assure that that has happened, and I'll be glad to send my resume to the council as well.
I would appreciate that.
Sure.
And so are you a Cherokee Nation citizen?
I am.
Okay, very good. I had a couple of questions that I sent to our liaison for the chief's office, and I know this is your first day in front of us, but you may not be able to answer them now. But maybe if you could either respond in writing or bring them back to the next meeting. I had asked if there was a campus-wide ban on tobacco policy, if it had been revoked. That was a question I keep
Okay.
getting, if we still have that in place. And then I keep getting from my constituents, and I know I want to know, are we going to continue to try to compact the Claremore Indian Hospital inpatient and outpatient contract health services for our Cherokee Nation citizens, the ones that aren't already? And then there's also, Chief Baker, are we going to consider compacting the Claremore Indian Hospital the same way that we did for Hastings, so that we don't have to continue to address these issues and such in the manner? And I sent that on December 14th to Diana Turtle, and the other one on November 7th, and I still haven't, and I've resent it a couple of times.
Okay, if you would send those directly to my email address, I'd be happy to follow up as best I can.
I don't have your email address because
Okay.
you've never been an introduction.
But then I
so-
will email
Okay.
this group, and you'll have access to me, and I'll provide
Perfect.
my cell phone number as well.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry to bounce those on you, but
No,
I've
it's
been
fine.
waiting patiently, I thought, for those, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Welcome again.
Thank you.
Councilor Christian Hawk.
Yeah, I'm assuming, so I don't know, is your email address not Connie-Davis@Cherokee.org?
It is.
Okay, I'm making sure. Okay, Sam Hyder, can you talk about it? Is it everything okay, up and running? I don't know.
Everything up and running at some, yes, they were back in business, as a matter of fact. We
Tuesday.
made the decision to close on a Thursday, late afternoon. Had our experts go out, do an evaluation of the situation, and then we were reopened for business the following Tuesday.
Okay. Have you, I know we've asked before, and I'm having some problems with it. A lot of people ask me about a detox center, because we've got
A beat
a
deep,
detox center, because
Center?
we've got, let's say, you know, something like Bill Wells, Jack Van House, but every time I talk to somebody, or somebody wants to get help, they say, well, they gotta go through detox first. Well, we don't have a detox place. Have you ever done any studies, or would you?
I haven't done
towards that?
studies, but I'm certainly aware of the need, because my experience in the emergency room, you know, we see a lot of patients with that, with the problem of alcoholism or substance abuse, so I'd be
We
glad
have-
to consider it and see what we have available to meet that need.
Okay, because we had a program going for a while that allowed us to put somebody in to get help. It was just this, up to that point, to get them to detox so they could go into a program.
Okay,
And that's what I'd kind of like to see if you'd study a little.
okay, we sure will.
Thank you.
Councilor Hargis is next.
Connie,
Hey,
last month we asked the gentleman that had reported about the vision pricing. I had a gentleman call me, he's 71 years old, and he had went in for an eye exam in Stillwell and had picked out his glasses and everything, and they told him his part would be like $60. He gave them his insurance card, and they recalculated and told him his part would be $199. Can we look at renegotiating that vision pricing, doing something with our vision insurance so that the people don't have that kind of out of pocket if they're using their insurance? Because that's going to cause a lot of people not to even report they have insurance.
right, right.
If we're going to more than triple the price that we're charging.
Yes, I think that's on the list of things that was given to me from the last meeting that we'll follow up on.
Councilor Gloria Jordan.
Ms. Davis, I think probably you're the one that maybe we need to properly address the question of security at our clinics too, since you'll be over, I understand, the clinics.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you can see from the discussion that we had with George, that's foremost on our mind is that our constituents and our staff seem to be unprotected in some instances. And I wondered if this would be something that maybe you would get with the Marshal Service and see if there's some sort of cooperative agreement that could be done much like, or I guess better than C&E, so that maybe there's complete reimbursement. Possibly they could assign some of their security or Marshal Service folks, maybe one to each one of our clinics, if there is sufficient funds somewhere in your budget that could be utilized
Yes, I
for.
like that consideration, and something we had from our previous meeting that I thought would probably be a good idea, because you get hostile patients there, and, you know, our staff need to feel protected when they're at work, and if we're dependent on one another, you know, I don't want to have to go head to head with somebody that's hostile and upset. So I think having security present would be a good gesture on our part.
I know we have really good security at Hastings, but I too understand the clinics are not protected.
That's my understanding as well.
And even the availability of one at a clinic would probably take care of 99.9% of the hostility there,
Yes.
if there was a presence there.
Right.
And I know that these agreements have been worked out with, I know the security agreement, we have an ongoing security agreement with CMB, with the Marshal Service does, and it seems like that I remember in another meeting, there's another agreement with another entity, and I can't think of who it is right now. But it must be something that can be done on a routine basis. I'm sure that they can tell us what the cost of a marshal is, and possibly maybe we can find somewhere in your funding that we could situate a marshal at these different clinics so there is some protection, because there is. I mean, I've been at Hastings a number of times where there's been a hostility breakout there at different parts of the hospital, and the marshals are not marshals, but security is always right there. And that seems to calm the situation just really quick. So if there was something that you could do, if you could work along those lines and maybe report back to us in a month,
Sure
that
will.
would be greatly appreciated.
I will.
Okay, Councilor Thornton is next.
Yes, we're bringing up this marshal service at CMB and the clinics, you know, trying to get them in there. But that's something I've never understood, is why do we have marshal service CMB? They've got armed security over there, they've got unarmed security over there. They've got all the vehicles in the world over there to use. Why is our marshal service having to go in there? I can't understand that. I don't see why that CMB can't go ahead and cross-deputize if they have to with different communities. And I'm sure that the communities, what CMB does help the local communities. They actually help the law enforcement and they help the cities. Whichever city that or township or whatever you want to call it, that CMB happens to be in. So I think they need to revamp this marshal service. And I can't understand why they would even have it. I can understand us putting security in the clinics. We have security here. That's security. It's not marshal service here at Tahlequah, at the facilities here. We could have armed security, one armed security in each clinic, and that should take care of it. They work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. And I can't understand why we keep going back to the marshal service. You know, why do we need them? You know, I don't know exactly where they're putting all those marshals. I know that northeastern Oklahoma tourism has more law enforcement than the marshal service does, and it's a whole lot cheaper. I don't know why it's costing us so much, you know, for this marshal service. So we need to look at this and look at that, but I think we need to revamp this marshal service, and I really like this new marshal that's over the service here right now. He talks straight to you, and I really like that, being in law enforcement myself. And so I think our security within our own security at the Cherokee Nation could take care of those clinics. But that's my thoughts, and I don't know if we have anything that's, you know, where we can't put our own security in there. I don't know. I don't know what they have going. But I think we need to think about that a lot, and think about the marshal service, and get him, our head marshal up here and see what we got going. Didn't we? Thank you.
Councilor Walton Stick.
I just text Shane Buell, and he said he'll be here in the next 45 minutes, so we can talk to him about some of these issues. Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Thornton.
Yeah, I've got one more comment. As far as Hastings is concerned, I've had 2 accounts go on in the past year and a half at Hastings, and Hastings responded very well in both accounts. I have a great-granddaughter that was born there. She couldn't have went to a better place and got better service than what she got with my granddaughter. I of course walked in the emergency room there, and I got a real fast response, and I know that they didn't even know that I happened to be a councilman. They just, you have a chart here? No, we got you a chart number, you know, and put me right on through, and took care of me and shipped me to Tulsa. So anything that I've heard about that hospital up there over the past years, since it's become a Cherokee Nation hospital, has been good. I've got people that have gone up there and stayed for 2 or 3 days and been taken care of, stayed for a week, been shipped over to Tahlequah Hospital, and they really like the way that they're treated. They like the way that the employees are happy and carry on with them all the time. And I think you've got a good thing. You've stepped into a good thing that's going on up there right now.
I think so as well.
I appreciate you and hope that you get after it up there.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, I've got a comment. I hear an awful lot of good things from Hastings. All of my family have gone there in different various emergencies and just relatives, neighbors. And as far as the maternity ward is wonderful for all the expectant mothers. And they have really improved a lot. And if you go up there and sit in the emergency room and see the type of situations that come in, you'll understand that the healthcare providers there are doing an excellent job of taking care of so many people that have urgent problems, some worse than others, and they triage them quickly. And I know from my own personal experience, I went up there and I was sick. I'd been sent by Redbird, and they didn't know I was on the council either, and they just treated me wonderfully. I got right back in a hurry, and was a short time later, I was over at Hillcrest also. So, but I had some really good experience there. But I appreciate getting acquainted with you and you coming down and telling us about the program. And we look forward to working with you as our new Executive Director of Health.
Well, thank you. I do as well.
Thank you. Before we go into old business, I would like to talk to Mr. Jeff Sanders about ongoing problems with the pharmacy. We enumerated several of them last month, and I'm sure you probably don't have all the answers for us. Counselor Gloria Jordan had several interesting questions about the possible going to a 90-day refill, and I've got some questions not concerning that exactly, but for people that go to Hastings ER on the weekends and they give them enough medication for 1 or 2 days, and they give them a handful of prescriptions and say take them to Redbird on Monday morning and get them filled. Well, that's easier said than done, because when they go to Redbird, they aren't going to honor those prescriptions at the window. They're going to have to see their regular health care provider to get them to sign off on it, which I perfectly understand that for outside prescriptions, but it may take you 1 to 2 days before you can get their attention. It's going to be an all-day process for sure without medicine. And I'm just saying that when you come from Hastings and you go back to your home clinic and you've got a Hastings prescription there signed off on, I think you just ought to take it to the pharmacy and they ought to fill it. Which brings up my next concern, which slows up everybody. I don't know who thought it all up, but it's not a good system. And that is the pharmacy consult before you can get your prescription filled. For many, many years, when you got a new script from your doctor and you were going to have to be consulted by the pharmacist, or the pharmacy person, consulted you when you picked up your prescription at the end. Now you sit there, you take off from your job, you go and wait for your pharmacy consult, and it may be, they're hoping it's going to be less than 15 minutes. I guarantee you it's always much longer than that. You consult with the pharmacy, then you go back outside again and wait, and then you wait for your prescription. A lot of people are taking off from work. They want to go on back to work. They don't want to have to sit there for a pharmacy consult when they just want to come back that afternoon and pick up their medicine and see their pharmacist once. They're just going to see the pharmacist one time, either at the front or the back. So what difference does it make as long as they consult with them?
Okay.
Because the in and out time was much quicker the other way around. And that is my concern, and I don't know who initiated this policy, but it's been going on for a couple of years, and it does not speed up the process. Can you give me shine the light on me
Sure,
as to
sure can.
why it's the other way?
Answers to the first question. Patients that do bring in prescriptions from Hastings Emergency Room should be honored. Now, if it is greater than 48 hours, if it's Tuesday or Wednesday and they haven't been able to make it in, then that's up to the discretion of the physician and the pharmacist, because they have waited a greater lapse in time than what we consider is necessary. If they're really sick, they'd be in Monday morning. I'll talk to Cindy about that, the pharmacy supervisor there, because to my knowledge, she is still honoring those prescriptions. And I haven't heard any complaints other than today from you, and I'll certainly follow up with that. That is current policy, and with electronic health records implemented at all of our sites now, the process is getting easier for us to see all the records and information that we need. The patients, when they bring in hard prescriptions, do need to bring us a copy of the PCC, which is the encounter form, to show the reason they went to the ER, to help us process those prescriptions in case we have any further questions. To the second question, as far as the split consultation, that was a process that was adapted from a Hastings model. I will say it's decentralized pharmacy is where that one is. It works best. We have a pharmacist that actually is in the physician area, and the patient goes from the physician into a little office with a pharmacist where they're counseled right after their doctor visit, and then they go check in with the pharmacy just to let them know they're there, and they wait for their prescriptions to be filled and pick them up.
That works good for fast track or urgent care. It doesn't work good out in the clinic.
In our clinics, you know, I can't say that for all. It does work well in some, I guess, and not so well in others. The process really, even though it's broken, at times it's about the same length of time. It doesn't percept that way because you have to split it up into 2 different sessions of waiting. Beforehand, if you were to come in and we were to process all of your prescriptions while you're in the room waiting with us, like we did before in the past, you came in, you picked it all up, and we counseled you. If we counseled you and found a problem, you had to go back out and sit down again anyway, because then we had to redo everything. And that's the reason we try to catch all these things on the front end, is to make sure that when we're done with our data entry and input processes, that when you're out there sitting in the waiting room to pick up your prescriptions, that is a completed order and there's no more questions. Sounds like we need to work on it a little bit more down at Salisal. Once again, I don't have as big a problem with that as I do at other sites. It seems to be working fairly well. But I'll address that with Cindy as well.
Well, we still have all these unanswered questions about how much extra money it's going to take if we decide to go back to the 90-day refills, because we do understand that Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance, no insurance whatsoever, all goes into consideration.
Sure.
We would like some information on breaking it down from
You bet.
elderly, like 65 and above, 55 and above, and
Now, the 65 and above, you know, I supplied the information to you via the last email that I sent out, and that was around $3.4 million. We still do not have our reporting processes for point-of-sale collections back into normal operating phases within our PMS. So the data that I've tried to pull, I don't trust it all right now until they get that corrected.
okay.
Okay.
That's my comments on that, so, okay, thank you.
You bet. Anyone else? Thank you.
Next, we have old business. This was a resolution sponsored by Meredith Fraley, myself, and Councilor Thornton. It was a resolution authorizing the funding of Cherokee Nation Home Health Services Incorporated Life Care Program for the amount of $250,000. Councilor Jordan.
I would like to ask Ms. Davis to come back up, and maybe her predecessor was working on how they could work this into the health budget. And I just wondered if she's had an opportunity to look at this, or if you need more time to look at this, because we have no idea where the money's going to come from at this point.
I understand your concern. That is a lot of money to ask for, and I haven't had an opportunity to look at that, but I will be looking at that and considering what our options are.
Would a month be enough time for you to look at it?
Well, I'll make every effort to do it in a month.
I would make a motion then that we table it to give her, as the new executive director, an opportunity to look at this to see if she can, if it's something that we can even entertain funding on.
Okay.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second here to table. All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Roll call.
Frankie Hargis.
Yes, it's to table.
Yes, it's to table.
Chuck Hoskin Jr. Anna Gloria Jordan.
Yes.
Lee Keener.
Yes.
Dick Lay.
Yes.
Curtis Snell. David Thornton.
No.
David Walkingstick.
Yes.
Kara Callan Watts.
Yes.
Bill Anglin.
Yes.
Jack Baker.
Yes.
Joe Byrd. Julia Coates.
Yes.
Jody Fishinghawk.
Yes.
Meredith Fraley.
No.
Janelle Fulbright.
No.
Don Garvin.
No.
We have 10 yes and 4 no.
So it will be tabled, and hopefully next month, Ms. Davis will have some answers for us. Councilman Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a question. Weren't some of these board members supposed to be here today to answer questions? Pretty sure we asked them to be here last time. Are any of them here?
Are you referring to,
The the Cherokee Nation Home Health Service, Rick Richards, that group?
And if I could respond, I think what I asked was if we could get some of the Cherokee Health Partner people here. And they are asking for another month to get their information together. I don't remember asking on the home health services. I think maybe, I may be wrong, but that was what I asked for, and I think I was the one that said something about the folks coming. I think it was somewhere, might have been somewhere in the minutes, but it was for the Cherokee Health Partners. And they have requested another month. We've sent and requested information from them. And also, previous to this meeting, I talked individually with Ms. Davis, and they're going to bring that information. I think it'll be forthcoming next month.
Okay. Thank you.
okay, thank you. New business, we have none pending. Anyone have any announcements? Oh, Councilor Calhoun Watts.
Thank you. I know this is out of order, but because it was tabled before and I was on your list, if you would just bear with me. I think before we consider the home health issues for next month, that the financials need to be split differently than they are today, so that we can see what has been happening. And I'll work with the sponsors maybe, and also Rick, to do that. But I think we need to look at the financials differently as a body before anyone votes on it.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? The next meeting is Monday, April the 16th at 1 p.m. Thank you.
Get hold of that board.
That board.